Share it out quickly. Quickly. Yo, what's up, Smash? Hope you're doing well, my man. Just sharing out this quick. I'm a little late. I know. I'm actually still waiting on some NBA news as far as a player that decided to be questionable all of a sudden. It wasn't all day up until about 10, 15 minutes ago. So I'm trying to figure out. So I'm going to be bobbing in between. Trying to get that news so I can filter my lineups properly the way I need to. I'm waiting for Fantasy Labs to give me the green light on who's playing. Urine, good to see you. Good to see you. Tops one looks fairly decent. T-Dog, good to see you, my brother. Good to see you, my brother. Hope everything is well with you. Hope the getting back into the swing of things with the clubs is moving in the right direction. Balls, love you too, brother. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Sorry, guys, I am running late. I was explaining to the Smash and anyone else who was in here when I was first blabbing on. The NBA kind of Jeremy Grant went from fine all day to questionable about 15, 20 minutes ago, and I've been just having a mess with all my lineups because I don't know that we're going to get the news before lock, and I play FanDuel, so I made my adjustments. It is what it is. We're going to run with it. So, today's stream, what's going on, Bash? Today's stream is going to be a little different. You know, I'm always very upfront and honest with you guys, and I talk about a lot of this stuff to hopefully help somebody else, possibly going through some kind of similar thing that I had gone through. And again, I'm nobody special. What I've gone through in life, I don't think is more difficult or more hard, or I've had a hard life than anybody else. I don't ever say that. So anybody who watches this, please don't take it that way. I simply share this, one, because it's therapeutic for me, and you'll hear me say that a lot in my streams, no matter what we're talking about, sports, cards, you name it, right? Being able to interact with you guys, my time out of the day away to get away from everything else and just kind of talk about what's on my mind. And it's been a while since I've really shared with you guys kind of any of my personal whatnot with kind of what I go through, what my days were like, I guess, when I was addicted to pain pills. And again, if you were to ask my older sister, if you were to ask anybody close to me that would be around me day to day, it wasn't like I was a fiend, shaky fiend, or, oh, I need this, whatever. In my mind, inside, yes, that's how I was. What's up, south of the border? Bacon barrel roll, good to see ya. In my mind was constantly chasing, and yes, I was, in a sense, that person, but I didn't show that. So I didn't ever show anything. And it wasn't like a itchy, if I'm like needing something, whatever type of feel or anything. But inside, my mind would constantly race. And as I sit here, 3.5, almost 4 years clean, and I've had some ups and downs. Don't get me wrong. It's not been easy to stay clean. But I think back to what my days were like. And again, I'm going to go back and I'm going to say this once again. If you're to ask my older sister, who's 7 years older than me, who has been around in my life my whole life, she actually watched me a lot when I was younger, because she was 7 years older when she was in high school, because when my mom was still married with my old man, sometimes he drove semi, sometimes my mom would go like on a weekend run with him, wherever, to whatever for his work. So she would watch and she would have parties, whatever, standard high school kid taking advantage of when mom or dad aren't home. But if you were to talk to and ask any of them, I mean, they would really have no clue. There would be days where if I ran out of pain pills, if I ran out of what I needed, you would find me, saying I don't feel good, I'm sick, laying around, stomach ache, restless leg syndrome, things of that nature. But what I really want to share with you guys today, and why I feel it's important, is because I hope that, again, this touches somebody out there who maybe is struggling with deciding if they want to get themselves help and deciding if they want to actually feel better, or if they want to continue to tell themselves in their minds that, as long as I get something, I'll be fine. And if I get something, then everything is going to be so much better, right? My world is going to be so much better if I can just get my hands on 3 more pills. And as an addict, and you may hear this in songs on occasion, you hear the terms of, cruising or racing to get a bottle, and then it's the race to the bottom of the bottle. And what I mean by that is I could afford to spend a lot of money on prescription pills and buying them off the street. I had a couple different connections, and there were some points in this time of me using where I could get 120, 165 or 10 milligram oxys or Percocets, Vicodin, whatever you wanted to do, whatever you wanted to get. I could spend $900, $1,000 in a week on pain pills. Now, did I go through all that in a week? Probably not necessarily. Probably not quite that much. But another thing you got to realize is, as a pain pill addict, as any kind of addict that gets, I guess, hooked on any kind of drug, you continuously find yourself, if you have the ability to do more, to keep doing more, right? Because you're just not getting that same high. The endorphins, the receptors, whatever it is that are releasing this great, or taking away this pain and numbing your body, you feel like you have to continue to take more to get on the level that you think is right, or think is cool for you, or puts you in the right place or the right state of mind. As an addict, I personally was not somebody who missed work. I could function. Again, I'm doing pain pills, right? I'm not doing like 200 milligrams at one shot and just lay it out, drooling, whatever. No, I'm doing enough to numb myself, to make me feel better. There would be mornings that I would wake up, if I would have Oxy, like the OC Oxy, the ones you could actually crush. Did I toot pain pills? Absolutely. Because if you toot them, it would get you high that much quicker. It gets in your system that much quicker. Is it good for you? Hell no. But you would find me some days getting out of bed and going and getting a 10 or 20 or 30 milligram. And if it was a 30, I'd break it up into like 2 lines. Do a line and then feel like, man, I'm on top of the world right now. I can sell anybody anything in sales job. I can do it. I can schmooze anybody on the phone. And again, I didn't miss work. I continue to do what I do in my sales life, continue to make good money. And obviously I had to hustle, right? Because with my pain pill addiction, the amount of money I had to spend a week or every couple weeks, and I had to make sure that when my hookups got their monthly refill or whatever, that I had the money at that time to purchase them so that I never ran out. But did I ever run out? I'm gonna go back to the the pill, the bottle, racing to the bottom. Did I ever run out? Yeah, I ran out all the time. And it goes back to what I just said about we continue to take something as an addict and we continue to take more and more and more because we feel like we have to do that to get ourselves to the level that we feel is good for us, right? That ultimately is taking everything else, taking reality away from us, living in a tunnel vision world where in this tunnel vision there is no worries, there is no problems, there is no issues. Anything that's happened to me in the past in my life is not there, right? Feel like we're so much greater and so much better, but in reality, just continuously dwindling. Putting yourself in a corner, putting yourself in a room where you feel like everything's perfect, but in all actuality, there's nobody around you. And anybody that would come around you or is around you, what you considered friends, were the same people that if they saw you at the bar on a Tuesday night, maybe they didn't drive, maybe they didn't have a car, you weren't drinking, they asked you, hey man, can you give me a ride home? When I get off work, bartender, you knew, whatever. And then that drive home on a Tuesday night became you want to come in and have a beer? You want to come in and have a beer. And any time that was brought up, we pretty much knew what was going to happen. That's when the other stuff started to come into play. That's when, and again, I never used needles, never stuck anything, but that's when the yayo got in the mix, and then you're up all night. But I'm going to be fine in the morning because I have pain pills. So any kind of drugginess, any kind of me not feeling right, not on much sleep, I'll take some pain pills and it'll make everything better. So back to the bottle and back to I always would have enough and I would never run out. As a pain pill addict, just as you probably see and you've seen video or pictures of people who are, addicts on heroin, meth, whatever, right? As a pain pill addict, it's a little different when you run out or you don't have anything and you get the withdrawals. Withdrawals they suck. And every time you go through them, you're telling yourself that, you know what, I'm not gonna do this anymore. I'm not gonna do this to myself anymore. I'm just not gonna do it. And then about 4 or 5 hours later, you find yourself trying to get in contact with anybody you can to see if they have anything. And here's the best part about all this. Not only are you blowing a ton of money, addicted to something, but now when you contact your plug or your hookups, they're telling you, hey, yeah, we can meet up in an hour or whatever. You're going to pick up some pain pills, drugs, whatever it is, in an hour. It's not going to be an hour deal. It's not going to be a 2-hour deal driving back and forth. Sometimes it's going to be a 5, 6, 8, 10-hour deal. I mean, it really just depends. How long are you willing to wait? How long are you willing to chase? Some would call it a chase or the chase, right? I don't know how many hours of my life I've wasted driving around from one point to another point. Okay, they're going to meet us here. And then waiting a half an hour, and then being told, okay, we got to go drive here. We got to go drive somewhere else. And it's a continued circle. And as awesome as you feel inside at the time, because especially if you're withdrawing, you're not feeling good, as awesome at the time that you're feeling like I'm going to be able to get something, and that's the only thing that keeps you going. That's the only thing that keeps you moving, is the thought of you're going to feel better again. You're going to get that high, you're going to be numbed up again. You can't wait for it. You can't wait for it. But you're just wasting so much time. You're wasting so much of your life. And anybody out there, and again, if people find this, view this, don't know me, have never seen me, I was addicted for a long time. I popped many and snorted many pain pills in my lifetime. I've had the highs, I've had the lows. It's just not worth it. I always had this mentality that when I was using, that this was the only way. And I think any addict out there, when they're addicted to any kind of drug or whatever, I think they all have that same mentality. You get to a point in your life, to your drug of choice, to your using, where you feel like there is no other way for you to function. There is no other way for you to survive. There is no other way for you to get by. You have to have this in your life. And I challenge those in that state of mind, maybe right now, or going through that, to listen to me, even though I'm probably going to be the same person you were 5 years ago if I was listening to someone say this. Go and get help. And go and get professional help. Don't do it yourself. Don't say you're going to do cold turkey. Because you're just lying to yourself. But if you're going to go do it, if you're going to go get help, do it because you want to do it. Do it because you want to better yourself. Do it because you want to feel normal again. And I know, and this is probably the hardest part about being an addict and deciding on, besides walking through the doors of a rehab place and just checking yourself in. Besides that, the hardest part is the reality of doing it for yourself and to actually feel normal again, because you're afraid of that. You're afraid that you will never feel right again, no matter what you do, because the withdrawals, they suck, and you have to go. I mean, you have to go through them, and you should be you should have somebody professional that's in the field seeking and seeing you through that. But you have to get through it in order to get to those better days, a better life, if you will, back to what reality is. And again, a lot of people are afraid of this because the reason why a lot of us maybe ever really got hooked on, even if it was sports injury related or whatever, but once you found out that you could take something and it could numb your body and it could take away your emotions, it's powerful, but it's evil. And that's what most of us fear, right? I mean, look at it in this case. If you're not an addict to anything, and let's say you like to drink. Let's say you drink liquor, and let's say you're not even addicted to it. You're not an alcoholic. You don't drink every single day. But when you have real bad days, or you have a lot going on in your life, people always say, I need a night out. Like, that's a great line for a parent, right? I need a night out. I need a night out with the husband or with the girlfriends or with the friends or with the boys. I need a night out. And they say that because they need to get away, right? And if they do drink, they typically go and they drink. And sometimes on these kind of occasions, they drink a little bit more. Maybe they get wasted. And why do they get wasted? Because they want to forget about the bad. They want to forget about what's going on. They want to forget about whatever has made this time or these days or this week or work or family life or lost a friend or whatever it might be. They want to do something to take all that pain away. So look at it like that, right? Even if you've never been addicted to drugs, never done drugs, look at it like that. Only I can just take a couple pills and I can feel like that, but I won't be hungover, right? But if I start taking these things, after a while my body will get immune to them. So if I stop taking them, then I'm gonna feel worse than a hangover. It'd be worse than a 3-day hangover, right? It's gonna be terrible. Big Heart said, doing well and you're so okay. I don't know if you're asking me. I read that question wrong. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm doing great, man. Sometimes I gotta talk about this stuff. As a recovering addict, this is again my therapy, and I talk a lot about all this stuff with my counselor, who I trust a lot. But I want this to be a message for anybody out there really struggling, and I want to share with you guys because again, I don't hold really anything from you guys, right? I consider you guys friends. Maybe people that pop in here in and out that don't really interact with us, whatever. Hopefully one day I'll get to know you. I'll get to know you by name. Maybe you'll interact with chat. Maybe you'll say something. Maybe you'll speak up. Maybe you'll have a comment when this video is uploaded, and you're going out. You're going through some stuff, and maybe you're going through something like I'm going through or I've gone through, and maybe you'll even reach out for some questions or some help or whatever. That's really, at the end of the day, that's really why I like doing these, because if it can touch just one person, man, it's huge to me. That's really all that matters. But racing to the bottle. So I keep getting off course because that's usually when I start talking about stuff. That's usually what happens. Imagine me at a campfire, right? You want me to tell some stories? You'd probably be there for 3 days. We'd probably have to chop down a whole forest to keep the fire going so I could keep telling you my stories. And I got a lot of them, trust me. But the racing to the bottle, right? So the chase to get the bottle, to get 60, 30, 120, whatever you want, pain pills, right? And I forget who the artist was. He put this line in his song. It was something to do with, just to race to get to the bottom, to have nothing, right? And like I said before, you start doing this, and you start doing more and more and more and more because your body's building the immune. It's getting used to 10 milligrams at a shot. So now you need 15. Now you need 20 down the road. Now you need 25. Now you need 30. Whatever it might be, right? So you get these and you think, and here's the best part. You start lying to yourself. You start lying to yourself. You get this bottle of them and then you're like, man, I am hooked up. I got these. This thing is going to last me 3 to 4 weeks, man. 3 to 4 weeks. I bet I can. These 120 10 milligram Percocets or Oxys. End of the week comes, and you're taking your last one or two, and you're wondering to yourself, am I going to be able to get anything? Am I going to be able to get anything? And remember, I told you guys, I didn't miss work. I still worked. I would work through if I was withdrawing. And man, I'm telling you, that was hell. You think I was a very good salesperson on those days where I tried to not make that very often, but do you think I was a very good salesman on those days? Probably not. But you start to then worry about, am I going to be able to find more? When am I going to get more? And then those last couple you take, I would always call it the worthless dose or the worthless high, because your mind and everything else is so focused and so worried on when you're going to get your next fill, when you're going to find some more so you're not sick or withdrawing, that didn't do anything for you really anyway, right? And also the race to the bottle, as you continue to take more and more and more and more, you're taking so much sometimes that it's not doing anything. It's not changing any effect on you. It's not it's not really helping you. All you're doing is just throwing money away, more money away than you are already throwing away, right? And I sit back and I try to think about how much, besides time, and to me, I value time more now than I ever have. And I always, I always say time is money. Time is money, right? Nowadays, that's what I say. I say time is money. Time is very valuable. Time is very important. We don't get the time back. How much time did I waste? How much gas did I waste? How many times did I, instead of going and hanging with friends, which even at that time weren't probably really friends, they were more acquaintances, which would have probably just got me in more trouble. But how much time did I kill in the chase instead of doing it with just hanging out with friends or family or whatever the case might be? I don't know. I mean, and again, my day would start. I wake up. It depends on what kind of pain pills I'd have. I'd either pop a couple or I'd snort, a line or two of Oxy or whatever, and then start my day. And I would just, every 3, 4, 6 hours or so, I would pop more. And if I didn't, yeah, by the time I got through work, if I would push to make it through work, but once I got through work, if I didn't have anything, you would see me with cradled up like a baby in my bed, and if anybody ever came around or see me, what's wrong? I'm sick. I don't feel right. I don't feel good, right? I'm going to share with you probably the staple of what took me, and then I'm going to get off of here. But I'm going to share with you guys the staple of, what's up, Mega? Yeah, live, learn, and grow. The search is on. I'm gonna share with you guys kind of the final straw, the final stages that really made me decide for myself that I wanted to be better. I wanted to get myself. So I was doing, on the weekends, late nights I'd go in and I would do security at my buddy's bar and restaurant. It was a club like on Friday and Saturday nights. And at the time, the head of security, his name was a buddy named Gary. He was a good guy. He wasn't into any of that shit. He didn't do anything like that. He worked his security shifts and he went home. But he called me over to the outside on the other end for something, and went over there, and there was some chick he was talking to that he knew that was like a friend of him and his wife or somebody. And she was just kind of like, oh, hey, who are you? And I just introduced myself, whatever. And then he was telling me, oh, she wants to, hook up with you, whatever, or talk to you, chat with you, whatever. So anyway, we kind of hooked up. We kind of hit it off. Well, little did I know that me having my own addiction issues, she was taking Xanax, which I could not stand. I took it one time in my life. I don't really remember the night. Told myself I'd never take it again. But she was actually prescribed Xanax. Well, she then decided, like after we started talking for a while, a couple weeks, she's like, oh, have you ever done Molly? And I'm like, no, actually I have not. She's like, oh, we should do it. So, I had plenty of plugs. Found it, got it pretty easy. And that became something that she wanted to continue to do too often. And I was like, no, I'm not doing Molly every once in a blue moon, maybe. I'm not going to do it all the time. And it finally got to a point, because she would go with me most of the time when I'd go and pick it up. So she knew who one of my plugs were. And so it finally got to a point where one night she asked about doing it again. And I said, I'm not doing it. No, I'm not going to be doing Molly every single night, whatever. And I finally just got fed up with her for asking. I said, here's his number. If you want it, you get it, you go do it. But I'm not doing it anymore. And at that point, I realized that I've gotten way too deep into all this crap, and she is not a person that I should have in my life with my own issues and what she takes, because she's prescribed for whatever she's got going on, is not the right mix. Not a good mix at all. So I had it was a Saturday night. There was a UFC, and honestly I can't remember. I couldn't tell you who fought that night, but I had to do security up at the bar, and the bar for some reason was super dead that night. We had 3 or 4 of us on, so they're like, one of you guys can be cut out, and I'm like, well, you know what? I'm going to then. And at that point, I became head of security there. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna just cut out tonight, because I saw a couple guys that I went to high school with that were hanging out at the bar. So I swung over and started chatting with them and got myself a drink, and we were doing some pull tabs and whatnot. And then next thing we're 3-4 hours in, drinking a bunch. We're all ripping pull tabs, winning money, blah blah blah. And so a dude I went to high school with, his girlfriend or wife, whatever was with, she ended up leaving. He's like, I'll take a taxi or cab or Uber, Lyft, whatever home, right? So, and I had already told myself, I'd come to the point in my life where I told myself, before I went to work that night, I said, this is going to be the last night I work at this bar. This is going to be the last night I party or do anything. After this, I'm checking myself in, come Monday, whatever, I'm going to check myself in at the clinic and do whatever I got to do, rehab, just get my life squared up. So I decided that I was going to go out with a bang that night. So he's partying with me, and he wants to party it up. So we take a Lyft or Uber or whatever to a different bar to close out the bar. And when we get over there, there's some other guys I run into that had some yayo, so we're in the truck or whatever doing some yayo, partying it up, drunk, drinking. And then we get a ride out to my guy's place that I'd always get the Molly from. And next thing you know, they're doing their thing, partying, and we're in the garage, and then my dude's like tapping on me. He's like, yeah. He's got lines chopped up. And it's, at first I thought it was just yay. I wasn't really paying attention. It was Molly. And my buddy at high school, I don't know if he'd ever taken it. He takes some as well. And this dude is all over the place. We get over to another buddy's house, and there's a couple girls, and he's got like his girlfriend or wife, whatever. There's a couple girls and like one of her sisters, and they were all over 21. But she was pretty cute. But he was all being weird, like, he was getting that vibe, that Molly vibe, and I don't know that he'd ever had that kind of high. And he was all like just being too weird towards her, like she was getting really creeped out. And I'm like, dude, you gotta cut it out, man. And finally realized that he was just beyond, like he was just. So I knew what his address was. We called a Lyft and basically told him to get him home. We got him out to the car. Like, this is like 4 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning. Sun's gonna come up in an hour or so. We get him in the car. He takes off, and then I ended up getting a Lyft, getting back to the house. I come stumbling in the house at like 5:30. The sun's out now. And I get a hold of, like, basically one of my ex-girlfriends that I dated for a long time, and I basically told her that, like, I needed help and that I was going to check myself in. And she kind of started talking to me for a while, too, because she knew my issue. She knew my problem. And I just wasn't doing anything about it. And when I had contacted her, she had told me that my sister had reached out to her and asked her if she knew anything about if I was using anything or not. She wasn't sure, and again, like I said, nobody really could tell or knew. She was just asking, and she was honest with her and told her yes. And my sister, I guess, asked her, well, should we do like an intervention with him? And this girl was like, no. He's got to want to do it or whatever when he wants to do it. Otherwise, it's gonna be worthless. He's gonna. If you force him into doing something that he's not going to want to do, it's not going to, whatever. So I actually met with her. I didn't even go to sleep. She had come and picked me up, and we went and like sat at Perkins, and I was all fucked up. Like, but I was telling her like I want to get better. You know, I want to go to rehab. So she basically stuck by me for because I couldn't get in right away to the place I was supposed to be going to. So I basically had to withdraw and go through the whole thing. I stayed at her place, and she basically watched over me for I think it was like 4 or 5 days before I could finally get in. And then once I got in, or before that too, when I was just feeling like hell, I told my sister face to face my issues, and then I said I have to make this right with my kids. And so I met with my ex-wife and my 4 kids while they were with her, and I sat them all down and basically told them face to face that I had an addiction, I had an issue, and that I was going to get help. Probably the toughest conversation I've ever had in my life, but looking back on it, I would have never done it any differently because I feel like I gained a different connection with my children that day. I think we all kind of looked at things a little differently, and then once I got in, man, like I said, like the toughest part is making that commitment to yourself to want to go do it. But once you do, I mean, literally 3 days after I started, and I was gonna go. I was telling myself in my mind, you have to go to inpatient. You have to go to inpatient. It's the only way. You have to go to inpatient. It's the only way to do this. Because I didn't know any different. I didn't know any better. And maybe it would have been better, but everything worked out perfectly. So I started at an outpatient. And when I went in, they had to reevaluate me. They do like some thing to see where your mindset is and whatnot. And they told me that your mental health or whatever is actually a lot better, probably than what you think. It's up to you. You can go to an inpatient, but you could just stick with this and do outpatient. And so that's what I've been doing, and that's what I've been doing for, I don't know, 3.5, almost 4 years now. So, and what's crazy is I had a cousin that when I was thinking about getting myself straight, I actually had contacted him. He was a cousin he was around my sister's age. He was about 7 years older than me. He was kind of always like, maybe you'd call him the outlaw of the family. I don't know. He didn't show up to a lot of holiday events. He was a DJ. He was, into doing all EDM stuff, but back in the day. And he would travel with different rappers and, be the DJs for him, whatever. And he would party it up. And he was huge into drugs, whatever. So I'm going to wrap it up here in a minute. But so I had reached out to him probably, I don't know, right around when I was when I was going through everything to go to rehab. And he had just came out of having valve replaced heart surgery. And they told him it was hereditary. They didn't say it was from any type of use of drugs. It's hard to say. It could have been from use as well. Who knows? But what's crazy is when he was in his surgery, he actually had to be revived 3 times. So he died 3 times into surgery. And one of the doctors actually came out and talked to his dad and asked him and told him, we've already had to revive him 3 times. What do you want us to do? And he said, well, try to save him, And he's, okay. So he ended up making it through surgery. He ended up turning his life around. He started showing up to his nieces, which is one of my closest cousins, which is his younger brother, because his younger brother's about my age. And he started showing up and kind of being an uncle and being around family again. And he had talked to me, and he really helped inspire me to push in my decision and really do it. And I think anybody in their right mind is going to push you that right way. But it was just, there was something different about when I talked to him. And I'll never forget this because he basically told me on the phone that with his repaired valve or whatever in his heart, he would never do drugs again because if he did, he knew the outcome. He knew he would die. Like they would kill him because of his heart, whatever. So about a month later, as I was started going through rehab, I find out that my cousin was found, and he may have been there a day or two, in his apartment because he lived alone. Nobody had heard from him for like 2 days. So my family's big in Rochester, or like my connection with my family, they go by the last name is Vold, but they knew some people on the fire department and the police. So they said, hey, we hadn't heard from Jason in a while. Go and can somebody stop by? People said they haven't seen him come out of his apartment, whatever. So when they got there, he was on the couch. He was dead, and there was drugs on the table. So, a lot of my family told me that it wasn't suicide, but I know better. I know better because of our conversation, because of what he told me. And again, that right there was another eye-opener. Made me realize that, you continue to do these things. And again, life's never granted, right? We know that. We've had our eyes open to that, whether you've had family that passed younger age, older, grandparents, Kobe Bryant, the others that were affected in that crash, Chris Dolman. I mean, it just goes on. We don't have to name necessarily celebrities, our own family members, but it just makes you realize, it makes you look at life in a different perspective. It makes you, again, like I say, value time, because time is nothing but against us. My uncle that passed from brain cancer, he had written, it was in his booklet thing at the funeral, an old thing he wrote up about how he, time and the clock, and how he wishes he could turn back the clock or rewind it back like an old, ticking clock, and you change things. You can't, right? And if you're not feeling right, or you're feeling guilty, and you feel like, another thing if you're out there and you're struggling, and you feel like you're a failure, or you feel like people are going to look at you differently, you're going to gain more support. And the people that don't support you, don't try to help you, are not supposed to be in your life anyway. So I appreciate all you guys watching. Much love. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace and love.